It'll grow to a large scale, but this is where real estate's heading. You got to get comfy and snuggly with it. Real estate is going to be 5 large cap companies. They're going to be enormous and they're going to control everything. And that's where it's heading. That's not a projection either. That is what is happening around us and what will be the end of the story in a few years.
If you're not getting educated about local and national real estate news, government shutdowns, lawsuits, what's happening in the mortgage pricing market, all of these things, you're doing yourself and your client base a disservice. This is the Knowledge Brokers Podcast. I'm Tom Toole here with Lisa Chinatti and Byron Lazine. Zillow's been in the news a ton this week, you two. There's an FTC lawsuit against Zillow and Redfin over their $100 million deal. CoStar and Zillow, they put on the boxing gloves again and are going at it. We've also got a government shutdown that might impact some things when it comes to housing. And we saw 1 in 5 homes cut prices in September, according to Realtor.com. Let's lead off with Zillow because they've been in the news a lot. I know friend of the show, or at least friend of Byron's, Jared James, has been all over. I think there's been like 6 lawsuits filed against Zillow or something like that over the past couple weeks. And they're constantly, anyway. A lot. And there's a lot of negative press. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, they filed a lawsuit against Zillow and Redfin, accusing the companies of striking an unlawful agreement that removed Redfin as a competitor in the rental advertising market. And you've got Zillow and CoStar continually going back and forth here about this photo usage. This lawsuit with the FTC is interesting because what's at stake here is that internet listing services on the different platforms that property managers with renters use to search for housing, like Zillow Rentals, Rent.com, Apartments.com. The FTC is arguing that healthy competition in this space is crucial. And basically the allegation is there was like a backroom deal where Zillow bought out Redfin, and they allege that this agreement violates federal antitrust law as an unlawful acquisition under Section 7 of the Clayton Act. That prohibits mergers and acquisitions where the effect may be substantially to lessen competition or to tend to create a monopoly. Pretty serious allegations here, you two. Let's go to the portal queen. Lisa, what do you think about this? Let's start with you. I know you're everyone at Zillow kisses your ass. So what are they telling you?
No, they don't.
Tom, you and I were the ones last week getting roasted in some of the comments on the pod on YouTube about our Zillow take, but I want Lisa's Zillow take.
So I kind of disagree with it. So first, I guess the first question is kind of to look at it and say, what competition are we looking to eliminate, right? Because and also first, Byron, doesn't Realtor.com have a similar agreement with Zillow?
Yeah. I don't know if it's similar in nature to the Redfin agreement.
Well, right, but
there's an agreement in place. I don't know the terms of it, but I know that there is an agreement for rentals.
Do you remember what it is? I'll
do some research. And while you guys talk about this, let me see.
Yeah, I was trying to when this all came out, I was like, I remember some conversations around some of the stuff shaking out with how that's all handled. And so my initial thought was, okay, so what's the competition that they're worried about? Is it from the consumer searching for rentals side of things, in which honestly, I think this is maybe a good thing for consumers because have either of you shopped for a rental property lately? Like not to buy or to own, but to help a consumer find a rental in your markets?
No.
You, Byron?
No.
So I just went through this with my daughter for college housing for next year. Can I tell you what a colossal pain in the behind it was? I was making calls to probably no less than 10 different real estate agents and looking across 20 different websites to try to find what available inventory was for rentals in this 1 mile radius. Drop a pin and go a mile in any different direction. And it was so disjointed and they were not in the MLS. I couldn't go to one place and find all of the rental options that existed. And I think my daughter had a slight leg up simply because of my experience in the industry with knowing who to call, who potentially had rental listings and all of that different kind of stuff. And so if we're talking about all of this with housing and trying to make things accessible to folks, I think we've got a gap shaking out with one central place. We have the MLSs for sale listings, right? We have one central place where all for sale listings are hosted, where consumers know that they can go to look for the most part. We don't have that with rentals, at least not in the Boston, Massachusetts market. So I don't know. I think it's a gap. I think that there's some opportunity here to streamline it and make it easier if what we're trying to do is accomplish
For
a
who?
marketplace for people who are looking to rent homes, but potentially also landlords, right? Without one central place, how does a
Why,
landlord know?
why do agents have to have a role in making sure there's a better place for consumers to find? Like, I just don't do rental business.
Yeah, we
I
don't either.
I don't either, right? But we handle, out of our, all of our sales, less than 2% are rentals every year. They just tend to be like a side effect of, somebody wants to buy, can't find a place, we need to find them a rental. But I mean, why? Say your question again, Byron.
Well, like, whose role is it to fix this problem? Agents have little control over this, I guess would be a better way to put this. So
Hmm.
whose role is it to fix the problem of finding a better place for potential renters to find rental options?
It's a great question. And I don't know that there's a clear
I mean,
answer.
it's the free market. And
Mhm.
that's always the answer. It's
Well,
definitely not the government's. The government will screw this thing up if they take too much control in it. Um,
but that's
so
my point. I actually believe that the deal should be. I don't see a problem with the deal. I don't see a reason
okay,
why.
so the alleged in the complaint, they alleged that Redfin was to terminate contracts with advertising customers to allow Zillow to take over that business, halt all competition in the multifamily rental advertising market for up to 9 years, function as an exclusive syndicator of Zillow listings, making Redfin's rental platforms mirror images of Zillow sites. Which one of those, if any, to you hold weight, are monopolistic? Do you think the terminating contracts with advertising customers, or do you think that, hey, two partners should be able to make terms of a deal that reflect that?
I think the partners should be allowed to make deals that. I mean, to your point, a landlord doesn't need to work with Zillow or work with Redfin. But if Zillow is saying, hey, I think that there's a better way for us to handle this to serve consumers on both sides, to serve landlords and to serve consumers, to get the most amount of eyeballs on listings, which is what we've been trying to do across the board, shouldn't we allow them to, if both parties think that that's the right solution, what's the problem with it? There's still, as I just found out, 20 other solutions, 20 other options in a marketplace for somebody who wants choice. So do you disagree? Do either of you disagree?
That there's options. I think for
Or that do you,
renters, it's always a struggle for a renter to find
Yeah, I agree.
the information that they're looking for.
that's my point.
Yeah.
So do you have a problem with the Zillow Redfin deal?
I mean, I don't. I guess I probably need to dig into it more to see if I have a problem with it. I think that, maybe they've jumped through some legal hoops that they probably shouldn't have jumped through to make this
Mhm.
deal. Deals like this are made. I mean, this is business, right? This is a competitive landscape.
We are a capitalistic society, right? Like,
Absolutely. And nor should we be anything other than that. So I know there are people that disagree that we should get away from capitalism, and they're crazy people.
so
Um,
I think the the sentence in I'm on the Now Ban website, right? in the sentence here that is listed, the deal was presented publicly as a partnership, but the FTC says it was designed to shield Zillow from head-to-head competition. I don't necessarily think that the deal was designed to prevent head-to-head competition. I disagree with that statement. I don't
Yeah,
think it's as altruistic as my simple take on it is that it was streamlining stuff. I don't think that it was totally altruistic and that Zillow was saying, "Hey, we can totally streamline this and make it easier." I don't get me wrong. I don't think that Zillow was saying, "Hey, this isn't going to help our bottom line and help us profit at the end." But I don't think
I don't know the legal logistics of what you can and can't do to, kind of compete against. What they're trying to do is compete against apartments.com. CoStar is coming. They're spending tons of money. And so that is the head-to-head competition that they're faced with. It's apartments.com. And that's, I guess, what FTC is referring to, shielding Zillow. But I don't know that this deal necessarily shielded Zillow from that head-to-head
that's my
competition.
point.
Apartments.com is a beast. I mean, they're,
Mhm.
it's a viable
So
leader in the space.
how about this question? How is this different than Compass acquiring Anywhere?
Well, you look at that. I mean, I think that's a great point, Lisa, and that'll shake out. I'm going to go back in time a little bit because I think you want to go outside the industry
Oh,
here to give
but
a
by the
better
way,
example. Go ahead.
because you mentioned Compass, I gotta there's somebody in the comments from last pod. Just
I saw that.
I mean, I probably shouldn't even mention it because the guy has no idea what he's talking about. First of all, he's like some agent saying you and Rory connected because I put you in touch. No, you didn't, bud. But me and the Compass executive team have been in touch on this, on getting Rob Revkin, your CEO, and that's how me and Rory decided to do that pod. I'll text Rory right now if I need. I want to address those comments from last podcast on Compass, but you do bring up a good question, Lisa. What is this deal with Compass? I don't think you're going to see a lot of deals stopped right now that are claimed to be a monopoly. If you look at the recent, Google won the case that they're not a monopoly with, they were trying to carve out, the Chrome from Google. And that was ruled not a monopoly. And, just probably 2 years ago, if the ruling came down, it would have been ruled a monopoly. So you do have a different viewpoint on acquisitions, certainly right now, than you did just a couple of years ago. Do I think I guess what your question is Compass shielding head-on competition from their exclusive network by buying Anywhere? I mean, where are you going with that?
I mean, it could be a couple of different directions. Is by acquiring Anywhere, are they shielding competition from a recruiting perspective? Are they shielding competition with,
They're buying it. I mean, they're buying whatever it is, a quarter, 25% of the agents.
well, and
Instead of
taking
recruiting them, they're buying them.
Well, but in the future, it also limits movement out of. Think about some of the big movement for some of the big teams. There's been a lot of teams that have moved Compass back to an Anywhere brand. And I think that those two, when you look at the business models, right? Like Compass agents typically live in that, what should we say, like a legacy type of model or a more traditional brokerage without a cap model, without a profit share. And so that tends to align very well with the Anywhere business model. So it could be that, but then also, is it to shield the competition from putting the listings and getting the leads being sold through the Zillow platform and keeping the Compass coming soon versus what's shaking out with Zillow and their 24-hour and it goes publicly on there, right? If they now own 50% of the agents, then one could surmise they own 50% of the listings. And so is it saying that, hey, we're going to start to move that? Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not
Yeah.
articulating it well, but that's
Well, no, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, if this acquisition goes through the middle of the summer next year, all those different brands are not right now, today, like in my market anyways, the Sotheby's manager doesn't recruit Coldwell Banker agents, and the Coldwell Banker manager doesn't recruit Sotheby's agents because they both worship the same God of anywhere.
Correct.
So
Yep.
so they have a, even though a lot
It's
like
not.
the Sotheby's are all independently owned and operated. It's on every sign in my market, and there are some Sotheby's International owned think Greenwich, Connecticut, New York City. There's a couple. I think San Francisco might be one of those where they're company owned, but most are independently owned and operated. It's articulated on the sign for legal compliance. Yet, despite the fact that they're independently owned and operated, they are like following some message from anywhere to not recruit Coldwell and Coldwell not to recruit against Sotheby's. I mean, to me, that's kind of shielding each other from recruiting competition. And so when in my market, Coldwell and Sotheby's only recruit other brands when they're reaching out.
And one of those has been Compass.
And now and to your point, and this is kind of where I brought that up, that will no longer happen. So now you have a bigger group that will not recruit against each other, even though they're supposed to stay, or the plan right now is to say separate brands, have Coldwell, which I think is a good idea, have Coldwell stay on its own, Sotheby's stay on its, branding wise, but the playbook will be the same. That's how Anywhere has there's been a lot of plays that have been the same throughout their different brands. That playbook's going to get swapped out with a playbook that, quite frankly, the leadership team at Anywhere has publicly disavowed. The private exclusive network, you have seen Anywhere's executives say this is bad that's their opinion, okay? It's not misinformation for the guy in the quotes that doesn't know what the hell he's talking, or in the comments that doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. That is publicly stated executives over time from Anywhere saying, hey, this is bad for consumers, their opinion, their point of view on the exclusive network. Well, they're going to turn face or they're going to lose their jobs.
Correct.
Is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And so I guess to what Lisa's point is, like, they're just buying up that ability.
They're buying up the dissension.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. But do I think that is monopolistic? Not to the point that I think some people would argue. I don't believe that Compass has anywhere close to a monopoly. They certainly don't have it in the online traffic. You can argue that they won't have it in sense of agent count. It'll grow to a large scale, but this is where real estate's heading. You got to get comfy and snuggly with it. Real estate is going to be 5 large cap companies. They're going to be enormous and they're going to control everything. And that's where it's heading. That's not a projection either. That is what is happening around us and what will be the end of the story in a few years.
If you ran your markets right now, both of you, what percentage of the listings in each of your markets would be year to date would have been completed by Compass plus an Anywhere brand?
I don't know, off the top of my head,
I can't answer that guy. You know what? We all got a little homework for next week. Let's bring these numbers here because we're in big enough markets. Byron, what you're talking about, excuse me. Anyone here watch college football? You seen what's happened with that? Look at college football over the past 10 years. They've gone to mega conferences, right? They're just taking up the little guys. Back in
this is a trend in everything for sure. It's a good example.
Back in 2008, you buy a new car right now, you get free satellite radio for the first year, right? Remember there was 2 companies with satellite radio in 2008. There was Sirius and there was XM. Now it's Sirius XM. And the DOJ Antitrust Division investigated that merger and concluded it was not likely to substantially lessen competition. I didn't know there was any other satellite radio providers. I think there's only 2. But these are documented throughout history. The Big Ten now is talking about having a private equity deal come in to pay the schools, right? I mean, this is big time stuff. And the same thing's going to happen in real estate. You're absolutely right. So I don't know that it's monopolistic. I mean, why aren't they breaking up these other entities if it's not happening here? There was a question about Realtor.com and and Zillow. So in March of last year, there was a deal that Realtor.com struck with Zillow to syndicate multifamily rental listings to Realtor.com. And that helps Realtor.com expand its apartment and condo inventory without building it in-house. So it sounds like a very similar deal. So there's a lot of similarities here. Christianos was talking about this on Instagram, that with all this news about Zillow, he thinks all these lawsuits are very coordinated. And I think there might be something to that. I mean, you have CoStar now talking about their photo lawsuit again. I mean, Zillow's a target. I think that has as much to do with this as anybody else or as anything else.
Whether they're coordinated or these companies are just following, oh, here's the trend.
Could be.
And so coordinated kind of starts to sound.
That was Chris's words, not mine. Let's be very clear.
No.
Get eaten in the comments.
Totally. Listen, I know, because sometimes you get a couple people in the comments that listen to one word and get themselves emotionally triggered because they just can't handle a full conversation. But so what you're saying is coordinated, or I would call, or what Cristianos was saying is maybe coordinated, but I would call maybe just following the trend, where it's like, okay, if you see vulnerability with a competitor and there's a trend right now of litigation happening across the industry, you jump into it. The litigation from a year ago, the settlement, or the litigation from years ago, but that finally the settlement took place and shaped at the end of last year. That was just the beginning. That opened up everything for more and more of these lawsuits, and everything will be tested. Now, all of the ways that business is being done will be tested through the courts, and new rules will be written. And companies like Compass and Zillow and Homes and Rocket see this as an opportunity. They see their legal cost as an expense on their P&L to drive future business. They don't look at it as most people look, legal costs, as a defense mechanism to avoid some type of penalty. They look at it as an investment to take more market share in the future. And they're all playing this game. Compass, Zillow, Homes, and not really Rocket, obviously, but their day will probably come too. And their acquisition of Mr. Cooper just went through, by the way. So for looking into like, wow, there's going to be a stop of these acquisitions, that's a signal that no. I mean, Mr. Cooper is a much bigger acquisition than Anywhere. Okay. Sorry to my Anywhere friends, but you're small potatoes to Mr. Cooper. Just look at the price tags, look at the profits, look at the debt. And that acquisition went through. Okay. And that was after they bought Redfin. So if you're looking at, some type of monopolistic approach, boy, wouldn't you look at Rocket? And nope, they're pretty big. They're bigger than most of these other companies we're mentioning.
Yeah. So I just pulled numbers for Mass. Let me just share. I just put some of them in the chat. So I pulled the top 5 year to date in terms of market share, right? So number 1, Coldwell Banker, out of the New England home office, 13.45%. Number 2, Compass with 8.47%. Number 3, Byron, you'll be stoked to know, is Ravis, but they're less than half of Compass at 4%. Gibson Sotheby's International comes in at number 4 at 3.27%. And then an independent in Massachusetts here at 2.26%. But so if you look at the top 4 or top 5, out of the top 5, 3 are now going to be all
Sotheby's
under.
Was 4, you said?
Yeah, Gibson Sotheby's International was number 4. But then if I keep going and I look at like, hey, what's in our top 25, it's going to add in Sotheby's International itself. Is Element in this? I'm not sure.
No.
Okay. And then it's going to add in Barrett Sotheby's. So it's going to add in another Sotheby's. It's going to add in Century 21 Northeast. So it's going to add in, another good chunk. It's a lot, right? Just in those top.
It's a lot, but this is where it's heading. You're going to have 5 companies that are all at 15% market share.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be the companies of today. It's going to be Rocket. It's going to be Zillow. Not Compass now with Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so how does Zillow get there? I don't know. Do they buy any XP? Do they Zillow's getting pushed into a corner with this lawsuit entanglement to where they will make pivots and decisions that look a lot different than what the last 10 years have looked
I agree
like.
with that.
So
I agree with that.
It will be in most markets 4, 5, 6 companies that are all at 15%, 10% type of market share. And there's going to be very few left for the smaller companies. And I really don't think that is like some dramatic projection I'm making. It's just, you just look at what's happening. It is where it is all going.
Well, it's happened in other industries. I mean, I think that's the accounting big 4 firms, right? We talked about college football. I mean, there's so many of examples of this. But before you get into
why did money plow into the college football example? Because the rules were being broken, and so the money plows in all at once. The rules are being broken right now, and this is why these acquisitions and the money is plowing in. The time's not 5 years from now to go and build and let's build up over the next 5 years our agent count. No, the time is now while the rules are being rewritten to push the money in and just buy up what you want. And that is what is happening. So, there's going to be uncertainty during this time period. Like we talked about it with Anywhere agents, they'll have some uncertainty between now and when the deal closes in Q3 of next year. Leadership, certainly from Anywhere, brands is going to be walking on eggshells. Many of them will go. There will be an overhaul there, despite what is being said publicly now. I do want to just kind of, Tom, I don't know. Last week we were talking about, they're talking about the Compass 3-phase marketing.
I saw these comments. I was looking at them here.
This guy in the comments saying, spreading so much misinformation, and you should do a podcast with Rory Galad, the president of growth at Compass.
Didn't you have a one-on-one with him?
I had a one. He drove from New York to my office. He took the 2 hours to drive to Connecticut to sit down with me. We had a very good time. We had an extended off-camera conversation, and we had an on-camera conversation. Rory, throughout our conversation, never once to me said I'm spreading misinformation. There is a debate around what is going on. And we had a civil debate, not a moronic commentary in the YouTube's comments.
Keyboard warrior here.
You're spreading misinformation. What are you, a CNN host? Like, you're just using a buzzword? Like, get a grip on
fake
reality.
News, Byron. Fake news.
Byron, you're fake news. You're spreading misinformation. No, that's a moronic comment. Say what you're going to say. If you've got me on something, say it. I can text Rory right now. I don't need a YouTube commenter to connect me with Rory Galad. They text me, bro. I don't text them. So let's get that straightened out. Number 2,
he's been waiting all week for this, Lisa. This is fantastic.
Well, this is ridiculous. Number 2, what did Tom, you and I say that was misinformation about the 3-phase marketing strategy? Nothing. I mean, what did we said it was
we
what
read,
they do.
We read the strategy that they give out to agents. I mean, it was very clear. I don't think that I mean, that's all we did. I mean, that's really it.
The 3 marketing strategies, you can go to compass-homeowners.com. I think, by the way, it's a beautiful strategy. I think it's intelligent. I think it's sexy. I think the way Compass positions this for their agents is really smart. It's more sophisticated than what I've seen any other brokerage do. Create an offer in 3s. Consumers think in 3s. Consumers react to this. They generate leads off of this. Like, what it is brilliant. And, it's very creative marketing. But phase 1, right on their website, private exclusive allows you to test price. So at the core, and what we said, private exclusive is nothing more than just kind of understanding, hey, where's the floor? Let me test it a little. You can't test ceiling on exclusive pricing. Can like we all agree, and this is where some of the debate comes in, not misinformation, but that my standpoint is on an exclusive network, you can't test the ceiling of a price because not everybody knows about the home. So you don't know where the ceiling is. You can get to the floor quite easily. And that's where we talk about Zoodealio, like in BMX, like go use Zoodealio as phase one. Everybody can have a 3-phase marketing strategy. Use Zoodealio, generate 4 offers. Cash plus is going to be much higher because you get paid twice as a seller than you do on just a straight up quick cash sale. So there is a variety on pricing, but you know what the floor is when you get 4 offers on a property. Now, private exclusive, you're testing it a different way, but neither of which, getting 4 offers from an investor, which I would consider a better phase one than a private network, because you can make a mistake in a private network. We've seen that. But either one of those tests, neither test ceiling. Okay, and really that's what we said. Coming soon is straightforward, and going live on all platforms, phase 3 is like what everybody does all the time and what most consumers want all of the time. I would encourage everybody, if you think you're not fully understanding what Compass is saying that the private exclusive does, at its core, it's just some level of testing price without DOM. And you can go to compass/homeowners.com and read about it. And I would encourage you guys to really study what they're doing and position your pitches. If you're not Compass, or if you're anywhere, you're gonna be getting access to the playbook anyways. But if you're not a Compass or Anywhere agent, position some of your offerings to be as attractive as what Compass does. They've done a phenomenal job messaging to consumers what they do. And there are very few brokerages that message as well as Compass. And so this will kind of resonate. And I don't think what Compass is doing is monopolistic. I think what they're doing is competing at a really high level right now with a CEO who's aggressive in his approach, certainly from a keyboard perspective, not from a communication on a long form pod perspective, much like Nikea, right? But from everything they put out that you can read online, they're doing a great job. And so, go ahead.
Before we move on here, because I want to talk about these home slashes and what's going on with the government shutdown. I think there's something that needs to get addressed from last week's pod as well, which is you see all these lawsuits that Zillow is getting targeted. A lot of people last year, they felt the NAR lawsuit was kind of nonsense, right? Like, oh, this is, and some of even the witnesses would, their testimony actually indicated that, but NAR did such a poor job. So Zillow's now wrapped up in this, and everyone's looking at them like they're the bad guy here. They've got a successful business model, and there's the ZHL tie-in and everything else. And what I see here is stuff that's happened throughout history. Have you guys done any new construction deal recently where the builder like really forces the issue? Like, we'll give you $30,000 of incentives if you use our mortgage company. Is that much different than what's going on with ZHL? Probably not. Relocation companies, for years, people loved that. Hey, Byron, I got my Relo account, right? Especially a lot of these Anywhere brands. Oh, this company's hiring. They're going to bring people in. They would pay a 40 or sometimes even 50% referral fee, but that was all okay. But now all of a sudden Zillow does this and it's a problem. And I think agents need to pull their head out of their hatred for Zillow, because Zillow has done what they can, which is consistently generate business opportunities. They've had a legit business model. And when you look at these lawsuits, a lot of people felt the same way about NAR. NAR just did a horrible job defending it, and that's what happened. And now, like you said, the rules are being broken, and everyone's coming in to take their piece of the pie. You've got to be really careful about how you're making your business decisions based on this, because if I'm an agent right now, I'm looking at how can I acquire clients, no matter what brand you're with. And a lot of folks they're getting emotional about this, right? You talked about snuggly earlier, Byron. They're getting emotional about where their business comes from instead of just going out and trying to sell houses and build relationships. And I think all this news out here and this noise, you've got to kind of like, it's important to pay attention to, because I agree with you. I think there's going to be like a big five brokerage, right? No different than what happened in accounting when they had the Sarbanes-Oxley case. It was very similar, where they all consolidated. I think it's going to be the same thing, but people need to pay attention. This is not that different than the visceral reaction that the NAR settlement had. But now Zillow's tied up, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, go get them. Like, they deserve this. I don't think that's the right strategy here.
Where the hell is NAR, huh?
I think they're I don't know what, I mean, you said it, Ikea Wright's not talking to you. I mean, I don't know what,
She's not talking. I mean, she gets on a stage every once in a while, puts out the same commentary. I mean, I don't understand. You look at the tech industry and, some of these other industries, they all get on the podcasts and the commentary. But in our industry, this small little pathetic industry of real estate, you got all these scared CEOs. I can't say anything on a podcast, not now, or I just want to talk about my product. It's totally different in the big boy and big girl businesses. They're willing to engage in debate. And by NAR not being willing, they're just letting these other companies just roll right over them. No backbone, no leadership whatsoever. From the Zillow perspective, let's just wrap up Zillow with the, there's, I think Tom, our friend TF, put out a video really talking about the Zillow home loan stuff. Obviously they're being questioned right now about the disclosure of the 40% flex fee. And that's bringing up conversation within the industry, not through litigation yet, but that litigation,
well, there's a class action suit that's saying it inflated.
If you're looking,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if you're looking at the trends, it's coming, right? And so the whole ZHL, which is Zillow Home Loans, when you say a builder is they're making an offer to a consumer right now, Zillow is leveraging partnerships to get the information out. It seems to be that a lot of the practices that Zillow is taking are in legal question. Is this another one that's going to be, on the forefront of legal questioning?
Lisa, you talked about something of value with RESPA. You want to we were talking about this earlier in the week. You want to, I think it was Section 8, I believe, is what you had mentioned.
I don't remember it. Let me Google. Hang on, because I had done some research about it. Just because it's an interesting. That's the violation that's going to get alleged, if anything, with the ZHL stuff is a RESPA violation, right? So I think it's important to understand from a layperson, not an attorney, or enforcer of RESPA, but exactly what the statute reads. And so let me pull it up. You guys talk for a minute and let me pull it up.
I know Zillow's whole premise with this, with Flex and everything else, is that most people that inquire on Zillow, Greg Schwartz said this in the infamous Boston Lisa Chinatti dress down incident in 2018, where
when are we going to, it's 7 years later. When are we going to be over it?
He had a great point here. Someone inbounds on Zillow. People pay for these leads, and 1 out of 2 would get a call back, if that. So their whole idea with these programs is they want to make sure that people are getting connected with. And now you've got these partners they've selected. There's a rigorous interview process to get in there. I mean, it's no different than you get. I mean, we have Berkshire Hathaway here, right? We have the largest Berkshire Hathaway office in the country. They have an affiliated mortgage company called Trident. And anytime I would get an offer on a listing, guess who the pre-approval would come from with a Berkshire Hathaway agent, Byron? I'll give you one guess. Who do you think it was? Do you think it was Trident or somebody else? Like, what are we talking about here? I mean, it's
Trident,
right? And there's a disclosure. It's called an affiliated business disclosure in Pennsylvania. Title is the same way. These are things that have happened, and it's that's it. The question is there something of value being given, to Lisa's point, while she looks this up? But this has happened with builders. It's happened with relocation companies. There's other people that have done this, and all of a sudden now Zillow's doing it. And it's very taboo, and I think that's the reality.
Yeah, so here's what it says. RESPA Section 8A prohibits kickbacks for business referrals involving a federally related mortgage loan. RESPA Section 8A prohibits the giving and accepting of kickbacks, e.g., cash or other, quote, things of value, as defined in RESPA and Regulation X, pursuant to any agreement or understanding to refer settlement service, business, or business incident to a real estate settlement service in connection with those loans. Talk about a lot of legal mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. Listen, I think the rules as which RESPA sits today might not be the rules of tomorrow. I'm telling you, all the rules are being rewritten.
That's a great point.
And
Yep.
if you think you know, even if you're an attorney listening to this right now, I know RESPA better than anybody. Well, do you know what RESPA is going to look like in the future? So I think with all these lawsuits, Zillow, obviously they weren't concerned about the CoStar lawsuit, and CoStar is alleging that they're still using that photography feed on those rental listings. They don't seem concerned about what some would allege is a RESPA violation with the ZHL, the Zillow Home Loan stuff. And they don't seem concerned about disclosures to consumer. Why? Why is there this, kind of approach coming from this large cap company? Well, I'll tell you right now, they know more about what the rules of this industry are going to look like in the future than the people in it, because they're shaping it.
I agree with that.
Yep.
They know something. And, do you think they do any lobbying themselves? Do you think they have some political
No.
connections, or do you think they just sit in Seattle and drink? What's that coffee everybody out there drinks?
Starbucks?
No, there's another. Yeah, Starbucks.
Starbucks isn't doing so well lately.
Is it Pete's Coffee? That's excellent coffee, by the way.
Pete's coffee.
I get
right?
the
That's
Pete's
also in
K-Pods.
Seattle. I don't think they're just sipping on beans out there in Seattle. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. What else we got here today, Tom?
All right, we got 1 in 5 homes had a price cut in September, and I want to talk about this because we just went through this. We have an advanced training we run at our team for people that want to get serious about listings. That's a passion of mine is listings, and the hardest conversation in real estate, in my view, is the price adjustment conversation. I don't know what you guys think. That's my personal opinion. And in the month of September, we saw nearly 1 in 5 homes saw a price adjustment as rising inventory gives buyers more negotiating power, according to Realtor.com. And when you look at the percentages, it's actually pretty interesting. Under 350 had the highest share of a price cut at 20.8%. Actually, sorry, it was the third highest. Then it was 350 to 500 was 21.6. 500 to 750 was 21.1. Then you get above 750, 18.3, above $1 million, 13.3, overall 19.9%. And there's some regional gaps here. We can go through all that. But the point is that servicing a listing just got a lot different. It's actually been trending this way for a while. But the agents that don't understand, Byron, you've always talked about your communication guarantee. I am clear that it's a winning play for servicing listings. Talking about numbers in a way that's not going to offend people, having a pricing strategy. Byron, you did a great job at BAM Camp with talking about words that win listings and some scripting there. And this is so important because I think, there's just been this mindset that agents have that listings are easy. Listings are easier to manage than a buyer. They are harder to acquire. They're harder to keep. And if you're not having these conversations and you're getting very nervous or you're avoiding it worse than anything else, you got to have some tough conversations with these sellers. And it's what you should be doing as a good agent, as a knowledge broker, because our job's to give the real news, not what people want to hear. What are you two seeing inside your teams? Because we're constantly looking at hey, what listing needs an adjustment? How are we going to talk to the people? What objections are you getting? That's real coaching. That's real leadership. A lot of people don't even address it.
Go ahead, Byron.
I'm seeing the agents that don't put a label on the price that they are presenting as their opening price on the listing, that invitational price. Hey, where are we starting this listing? The agents who haven't labeled the strategy with their seller, aspirational, comp-based, or event-based pricing, they haven't labeled it and articulated it to the seller, have a really hard time having that conversation after the fact. Once you've labeled it, hey, we're testing aspirational pricing, we're all in alignment here, and we're moving forward on aspirational, then it becomes a really easy conversation. Okay. If you go out at comp-based pricing and it doesn't work out, like, hey, we went on yesterday's comps, it didn't work out. Now we have 30 days of new comps and we need to pivot. We started at comp-based pricing for yesterday's market, and now we're pivoting because we have new data, new information. And so you have to label it up front. If you label everything as the right price to go out, then yeah, of course there's going to be confusion when there's not a sale that takes place in a 30 to 60 day window.
Yep. I couldn't say it better. That, and I think it's just constantly reassessing the comps and getting a system in place to communicate those. It's got to be weekly, at least in our market. We're finding that
Weekly
it changes.
is the bare minimum. Go ahead.
Right. I lost my thought.
Sorry.
Well, the other thing that I think you agents, we've got we got to get comfortable with this.
Snugly?
That listings don't sell in 3 to 13 days all the time. And so you're taking on a project to, what Andrew Undum says beautifully, maximize the equity of that seller. You're taking on a project and maximizing the equity sometimes, depending on geographical location and, you know, the pricing category, is going to be sometimes a longer, you know, time frame than some of your other listings. Okay. And you've got to get comfortable with that, and comfortable that, hey, right now on this project, I have weekly communications and updates and reporting that I'm going to adhere to. And I have a process in order to do that. And you articulate that process on the listing presentation. You follow through with it. And part of that process is going to easily now handle any of the pricing conversations. The agents that can't handle the pricing conversations are the ones who thought the listing themselves was going to sell within a 7 to 14 day period, and then it didn't, and they didn't have a process beyond that time frame, and now they're stuck in no man's land with nothing to say, no plan on how they're going to. I would go into every listing saying, if this thing stays on the market the next 90 days, I have a plan for every single week over the next 90 days. I have a process. Now, if we, you know, on day 9 sell the property, I just move to process number 2, which is what I'm going to do while we're in the contract phase. Okay. But that's the blind spot that agents have. And then they don't want to have that conversation. They don't want to be in it for the long haul. And as the market shifts right now, and we talked about this on a BAM, me and Sharon did a BAM webinar this week. As the market shifts, there's 2 kinds of sellers right now. The ones that are scared about going on to the market, obviously in general, but they're scared about picking the wrong price because they have so much past information here in recent memory, the last 3 to 5 years of really top of the market pricing. And so they're scared to pick the wrong price and leave anything on the table, which means some sellers need to scratch the itch of maybe the bottom tier of aspirational, and they're not going to list with you if you don't do it. And so if you're in the business of not getting listings, sure, be the perfect pricing guy with the pencil in your pocket and think that your numbers are better than everybody else's. This is not the game to accumulate inventory. Okay. And I'm not talking about buying listings. I'm talking about have a process of being able to test price with the customer, but a process obviously to get to a place where if that testing doesn't work out, you get the price down to the level before your contract expires. As Sirhan says, the only job is to never get fired, and then you'll be the person that's on the settlement statement selling the property.
Yep.
So, you know, I don't turn listings away on price. I categorize them appropriately up front. That's the mindset of a great listing agent, is getting and winning listings and winning that trust through the process that they have of that seller. So scared sellers that no matter how many agents tell them this is the price, I feel like I'm leaving 10% on the table. I want to scratch that itch and test it. seller number 2 is the frustrated seller that's saying, do I have the right agent? Do I have the right agent? I'm 30 days in and I think I made the wrong move and I want to fire this agent. I'd rather cancel this deal and get a new agent because all this person did was make me promises that haven't come true. They haven't shown me process. And now I'm wondering, is this the right person to get it done? And if this deal blows up, you can bet that I'm going to be switching to a new manager on this listing. So those are, I think, the two sellers, and you got to really be able to be prepared to scoop up the frustrated seller that's questioning if they have the right agent. Go take those.
Love those.
That agent that can't get the job done, go show that you can get the job done. That agent failed. Here's where I can win. Listen, if they lose, just like Chuck Rhodes said on Billions, hey, Sonny, when they lose, you win. Now, you don't need others to lose, but that's an opportunity for you to win more. Those guys that don't have a process that are losing out there. And then the seller who's scared to leave money on the table, cool. Label it aspirational. Here's how we test aspirational. Here's where we have a conversation on pivoting. Here's what that looks like in the future. But I'll be right there with you. We're going to need to do more marketing, maximum push during this testing of aspirational time. That's why I think you need to be in my maximum push plan here. Have 3 plans that you can work with. If somebody needs to sell in a day and your only process to sell in a day is I'm going to price it under what every other home sells for, then you don't have to do a lot of marketing. And guess what? You shouldn't be compensated as much. So you want to be compensated more? Okay. Be in the game longer with them.
Well, and you brought up a couple good points there, Byron. And I think that there's something I've learned that, you said you don't turn down listings, right? Sometimes you got to work the listing a little bit. Any agent that says I don't take overpriced listings, you're probably not taking a lot of listings. I hate to break it to you. That's just the reality. I mean, it's not a pride thing. Sirhan,
there's always a point where, there's always a point where all of us have turned down a listing. So it's not a never turn it, take everything at all costs, but generally speaking, agents get way too selective. There's these videos online. There's an agent in Florida who was like, these sellers are crazy on their price. Do you know how much money it cost me to take photos? It cost me $500 to take photos. It's like, oh, so that's your value is $500? You can't spend another $500 to gain market share. You don't have a strategy to have a runway to hold listings. You should go work for somebody. You're complaining about $500 and you think you're an entrepreneur. You're not. Go get a job. If you can't handle $500 as an investment, you're not running a business. Go join a operation that knows what they're doing, because you, my friend, do not.
Okay, let's move on from that. We have limited time left. And Byron, I think we have to get a meme of Byron when he gets on one of these rants that has like a vein in his head that throbs and pops out.
You ever see that movie, Inside Out? You know what I'm talking about?
You're making stuff up. You're making things up. That is, I don't have any veins in my head.
No, I didn't say you did. I said we need to get a meme because that's like you get so heated. It's what I picture is a vein in your.
I'm not getting heated. I want it to be heard. And
it's heard. Trust me, my friend. It's heard.
What happens with me? Here's a vulnerable moment on the pod. Are we ready? Knowledge Brokers, vulnerable moments.
This is exactly what I was talking about. Inside Out, the Lewis Black character.
Yes.
I don't know who this is.
I'm sure your daughters have watched this movie. And like Byron just he's like, I'm watching golf out there.
Are these the little pineapples in Moana? What is this?
This is just Google it. Any parent knows what this is. There's been 2 of them. All right, we got one more thing to cover here real quick.
I want to have a vulnerable moment on KBP here, Tom, before you get to that. All right. What happens and where people get frustrated where you have this guy in the comments who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, this Compass agent just waving his emotional flag, is they hear what Lisa's talking about, the tonality and the confidence that I have in what I'm saying. And they don't hear the words and the objective.
I actually agree with that.
Approach.
I have seen that happen with you. Yes, I agree.
Absolutely. So people decide instantly when they hear my voice, I don't like that guy, and they don't hear the words. It's by the way, what a lot of sellers decide when you're in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this person. I want this conversation, and they hear 20% of the words, even if you have the greatest plan in the world. They're not hearing it because you haven't made them feel good. All right, go ahead, Tom.
You're right. And I said it last week, me and Byron are much less likable than Lisa. That's why everyone wants her on the pod. So we got the government shutdown happening here. And I think there's not going to be a lot that happens, but you want to know this stuff. So there's a couple key impacts on housing here. There's really three things you want to be aware of. One is that mortgage processing is probably going to get delayed if you've got an FHA loan, a VA, or a USDA loan. These are HUD and FHA endorsements and processing. You're going to get delays. The IRS might be slow on borrower income verification. Flood insurance disruptions. The NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, run by FEMA, can't issue new policies or renew existing ones. So that might be a
I
problem
think
if you're in a flood zone.
I think that's going to be the biggest thing, because that will actually significantly delay a closing, whereas the rest of it, I don't think is going to really impact anything. But I think the flood insurance is the biggest one people need to be aware of.
Yeah, and well, actually, USDA loans for rural development loans on low and moderate income buyers are paused. So we see a little bit of that when we go a little further west towards Lancaster here. I imagine, Lisa, you might get into that when you go a little further west. Byron, same with you. Maybe
We haven't
not. I
done
don't
one in
know. But if you're in an
years.
area like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, those loans suck.
no, they suck. But some people, that's what they can qualify for.
It's a great program if you and the property
Yeah.
qualify,
but we haven't done one in years.
We get a little rural at the edge of our market here, like Western Chester County, right before you get out to like the Amish land in Lancaster. So that's right outside the collar counties there. So I guess the point of this here is, if you have a buyer or a seller that's involved in one of these transactions, you might want to pick up the phone and talk to them. That would be my advice. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Like, look at what we're talking about. We're talking about very government shutdown. We've been through government shutdowns before, and my business was unaffected.
I agree.
I don't think there's going to be an impact to
It's
the
transactional.
businesses. Yeah, I think it's just prepping properly.
These are like your kids getting into a fight over what color popsicle they want, and you just tell them to shut up and sit down, and you wait for the crying to get over, and then eventually they're friends again.
And
like
you
eventually,
wonder why you get hate in the comments. That's all I'm going to say. Those, you could listen to the words and you wonder why you get hate.
What did I say there? The government shutdown is two little kids arguing over a bunch of crap. And eventually, when they run out of tears, they're going to hug and the government's going to be up and running. And you're going to wonder, you're going to be like, really? Was there any difference between the government shutdown and the government opening other than stealing my money and spending it on excessive projects and plans? Like, the impact on real estate is so small. Flood insurance for, obviously coastal communities is a big deal, but
Yep.
it'd be more efficient if it was out of the hands of government. I mean, we're talking about USDA loans. The reason why you said USDA loan is such a great program is it's free money in buyers' pockets. Okay.
It's no down payment.
It's manipulation of the market. It's government coming in. The reason why USDA loans suck is because there's all these hoops you got to jump through in order to make one of those deals happen. It's inefficient. It's government run. And yeah, if you can hit the lotto and get a USDA loan and get free money, who doesn't want free money?
Exactly.
But extra work for the seller, extra work for everybody of jumping through these government hoops. And so if these are the things that we're avoiding in a government shutdown, fine. I mean, we've been through government shutdowns. They don't impact me. I'm not going to maybe they impact me in the airports. I know they impact government workers and those kind of things, but I think TSA would run a lot better if it was privatized. So, and all those guys would get jobs and they'd probably be better compensated for them.
My point is simply, as you write offers over the next few days, be aware that you might need to allow a little bit more time for things like commitments or closings. Not that it won't be able to happen, but it might take an extra couple of days.
You should be allowing more time now anyways, just on the temperature of the market. We saw cancellations at the highest point per Redfin data back in June for any given month. And the reason for that is people are taking longer to make decisions, not only before they decide on the home or the sale, but during the process and to digest information. Everybody's like, we can, every lender you're talking, we can close so fast. Yeah, well, the two parties don't even want that. So what value is that? Okay, so if that's your whole pitch, you've got two parties that every time we're like, properties are going to close in 2 days, it always kind of goes back to that mean of taking a 45-day window to close. Opendoor just came out with this thing, the CEO on X, that they're going to let people test the home for 7 days. Like supposedly no strings attached. I'm sure there's a big fat fee like everything else, but
Yeah.
they're going to let them move into the home for 7 days, like test it out. Like you drive a car off the lot and get on the highway and get off one exit and come back. They're going to let them live in the home for 7 days because the CEO of Opendoor bought some apartment in the city one time and then realized that there was loud noises that kept him up at night. Every CEO that gets into real estate is the same. They talk about their one personal transaction and get emotional about it and what home means to people and pretend like they're the goddamn home whisperer all of a sudden. And that's what this Compass CEO is doing right now. And I think they're going to find that
Opendoor
CEO.
CEO.
Opendoor. I'm sorry. Whatever company I said there. I think you're going to find if you have a 7-day test window, you're going to have even a longer time to close. Not a shorter. It's not going to attract more deals. It's going to give people more opportunities to bail out on the deal. I think it's insane. It won't work. They'll stop doing it.
Yeah, I think you had a great point here, Byron, where I've seen deals die because agents try to jam these things in so quick and it just pisses everybody off and they don't know the realistic time frames. It's a rookie mistake. And that's where, and I think, Lisa, you're right. Like, you got to know what's going on. You've got to allow for more time because these transactions are tricky, my friends. Like, it might take time to get a mortgage commitment. Like, if someone says they can give you a mortgage commitment in 7 days, it better be pre-committed. Like, I mean, I've seen this happen. And then it ticks off the seller, and then the dates aren't realistic, and then everybody, you're creating a situation that's destined to fail. So that's where, when you're a listing agent or a buyer's agent, you want to negotiate these things well and understand. So knowing about this, because we have a couple homes that are in flood zones here. Like, I've dealt with this a handful of times, right? So you got to know, I mean, there's like certain neighborhoods, you know where they are. That's the kind of stuff that knowledge brokers are aware of.
This whole, like, making the transaction at lightning speed, it works for most things that we buy, but I would relate this much more to marriage. Like, some people get married in Vegas at 2 a.m. and they definitely want to unwind that the next morning. And then others do some due diligence before they get married.
It's an extreme example.
Exactly. Everything you do is.
What about, isn't there a show, Fiance at First Sight, where they get married on the spot?
Married.
Like, isn't that a real thing?
Married at first sight, yes.
Yeah, what a fucking horrible idea. I mean, come on.
This love at first sight, getting married on, instant, and then other people, when they get married, they do some due diligence. They spend a lot of time around the other person's family. They live with I guess some people religiously wouldn't live with the person before marriage, but I mean, I lived with my wife for years before we got married. Like, I want to know,
Ditto.
I want to know what I'm going to be dealing with. I don't want to be moving in with you like the day after the wedding. That's crazy for me. Maybe not for others, but for me. Okay, I want to know what I'm buying here.
It actually might have been crazy for your wife. Let's be real. Like, I don't know.
Living with Byron
crazy for her
yeah.
today.
I mean, just living with her. Forget everything else. All right.
It's still crazy.
I got to go. We're way over here. I don't know about you guys.
All right.
Catch you next week.
I love everybody. Everybody have a great weekend. Even the commenter from last weekend. I love you, and and I said this on the BAM webinar. I love Compass. I love what they're doing. I love all of you from the bottom of my heart.
Your grinchy heart.
I'm going
see you later.
Vomit. See you.
Have a good weekend. Thank you so much for checking out this week's Knowledge Brokers podcast. If you want to take what we're doing here at BAM and use it in your own business, join us over at School. We just switched BAMX into the #1 education and community platform. Go to school.com/BAMX or hit the link in the description, school.com/BAMX. I'll see you in the community.